Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.
What if your business had less to do with your marketing budget and more to do with mastering your mission? So today I have the grounded, strategic, and the profound David Olcott with me, and he joins me to break down how real success is built through excellence, not excess. We'll talk about right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
All right, y'all. All right. So we're going to jump all the way into this. So there's no need to read his bio. You know, he's been with Tony Robbins and, there's no need to go through all that, right? We just want to get all the way into the meat and potatoes, And so the question is that I want to ask our guest, is your business growing because you're spending more, or is it because you're becoming better? And how do you know the difference?
Way to start things off, man. Nice to meet you.
Same here.
It really is good stuff. It's a great question to really start taking a look at this. And as we move into this new age, man, there's new energy coming out in the world, and people want something. Yes. What are they after? Seriously, what are they really, really after? Mm-hmm. Here it is. They're after being authentic. Mm-hmm. Authenticity is going to be the new theme of this next 20 years of your life. So dive in with me a little bit on this one, because that we've played so much growing up in the 80s. I will tell you, there was been no more unauthentic time. It was about the me generation and everything else. And we're going through a lot of that same cycle now. And so much about our businesses are just about making money, getting that metric. Right. It's not about being in service to another person. And I will tell you, the ones that are going to be leading this new direction, this new frontier, are truly going to be truly in service to the marketplace and their customers and their employees. And you can see what craziness going on with labor, capital, all this other crazy things, man. We can end all that conversation if we can just start being authentic with each other. And that's a difficult thing to ask from people. I get it. It's high pace. You're always worried about this and liability, that, but authenticity takes us to the next level.
So first of all, I did say you were profound, right? Because, and here's the reason I'm saying that, because you just use one word, right? That sometimes we don't understand the real power and the idea of what that word really means, because most of us are not. We're so busy looking at someone else. And even in our workplace, we're told to duplicate what somebody else is doing, so how do we know how to be authentic if we're always told and we're shown to be somebody else?
And what's even worse is the cycle we're in right now. If you look throughout the world, not just America, right, but the world, if you wanted to take a look at it from a religious or spiritual event, I will tell you that the 7 great sins, we've moved through greed and we're now into envy.
Right. Yeah.
We're envying each other, what the other person has, what do they get, what's going, and social media is a big part of that. Now, I'm not beating up on social media, so take it easy on me. I'm just saying that's what we're doing with each other. I get on Facebook and I tell you a story that isn't even true about me, just so that you can get likes and popular and whatever else I'm getting. I need that attention. And that envy is driving so much of us. But envy has a frequency to it, has an energy field to it. And people feel it from you. Even if you get away from it for a while, they eventually catch up to you and going, you're not really who you said you were going to be.
Right.
And that's the big challenge. So Then you bring the word authenticity into this conversation,
Right.
and it's
Right.
the profound change of what people are really looking for. Because in the marketplace, people are actually looking for the opposite of what the
Mm-hmm.
majority of people are doing. So if you really want to get on that path, that's the way to do it. The challenge with it is, if we're so envious of everybody else, we're living everybody else's life.
Right.
And we
Yeah.
got to start living our own life. And that's where the real coaching comes in place.
So how do I do that, David, if I feel like I lack? One, I acknowledge that I lack it, but then some of us that don't even know that we're in that space. So how do I even get to that point of getting even deeper? Because hey, you know what? Everybody else is riding around a Rolls Royce. I want to ride a Rolls Royce too, right?
That's right.
But there might be something deeper than that. So how do I look in the mirror and get deeper?
All right. So lots to unpack there. Beautifully asked. Let's see if we can do this. The first thing you have to understand is that you're getting constant feedback whether you're living a life of authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
If you're living a life of authenticity, you're never going to have this one word in your life: suffering.
Hmm.
For those of us choosing authenticity, suffering isn't part of the equation. For those not, and by the way, the way I got to this place was through all my suffering. I was like, this isn't, God would not put me here, man, on this beautiful place and not how to figure out how this place works.
Right.
Because it does work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not figuring it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that suffering is my feedback loop that I'm not being authentic.
Mm.
So that's how to become aware of things. That's how at least I chose to be aware of things, because I'm pretty stubborn. Right? And the universe loves me so much, just hits me with the head with that cosmic 2x4. Just wake up, David.
Right.
Come on. You're here to do something bigger than what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got it. And I was like, okay, that's enough. I'm on this path. I've got to figure this out. So now that I figured out, hey, I want to make a difference and I truly want to be in service of others, I chose a symbol in my life to remind me of who I am so I can be authentic. And in the world, it's called being samurai.
Mm-hmm.
Samurai, loosely translated, means in service of others.
Mm-hmm.
Our whole company is called Samurai Success, in service of your success. But what most people don't understand about being successful is that there's so many different ways to define success, but there's only one true element that makes things successful, and that is, can you duplicate it? If it's not duplicatable, Maurice, then it's just luck. I got lucky one time or twice or three times. If it's not duplicatable, then it's not successful. And by the way, you can be successful being really bad at something. You're just being really consistent with it.
Right.
So how do I get to this authenticity of things? Well, I have to realize that so much of my life, people have been giving me input into who I should be, how I should behave, what I should work toward. And a lot of those are really important coming from my parents and society. And I've got to listen to some of those things.
Right.
But I don't have to let those things determine who I'm going to be in every situation. And that's where the real work begins. Because I'm going to live a life for sure. There's no question about that. The choice that I have is, am I going to live a life designed by me or designed by others? And I found that life that I was designed by others and I was living that, that's where all that suffering came in.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this can't be the way. So I had to find a new way to really re-identify myself as who I wanted to be this lifetime and how I wanted to playing David Olcott this time.
Right.
About how I wanted to be it, right? And so once I found that, I started running into how to reprogram that programming that starts by the time you're 7 years old.
Right.
Most of your life has been pre-programmed by all those different sources in your subconscious part of your brain.
Right.
So we have access now to be able to change that programming with my permission, my voice, my verbiage, nobody else's, so that I can then start living the life I really want to live.
So there's a lot of things that you said, David. I'm going to be honest with you. Because, when you say service, one of the first things I think of just in my corporate America career, I was in customer service. And so in that space, I had to understand what the customer was asking, right?
Mm.
In order for me to answer their question and to be sympathetic, empathetic, whatever words I had to use, but I had to do it in 3 minutes or less. Right? You know, but I think those are the type of things that when you talk about service, sometimes we're not totally connecting with the people that we're talking to, who we're, like you said, we're serving, just having a general conversation, just being genuine in our dealings with one another. And so when we speak about that, how do we even tap into that genuineness of customer service? Because again, keep in mind, most people when they look at that company, they look at customer service negatively, right?
Right.
You know, not understanding the real importance of that position and how it will take your life to a whole nother level. So how do we stay genuine in that situation?
As a customer service representative of any business or playing that role, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an identity that I'm playing in my job. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to be in customer service and I'm really going to listen what the customer is saying. Now,
Mm-hmm.
here's the big challenge. Most of those customers don't really know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're living a life. They've been programmed to live this identity they're living. And I will tell you that it's from my experience, until you really know who you are, you
Mm-hmm.
can't know what you really want.
Mm-hmm.
And what that shows up behaviorally is that you keep changing your mind, because as your identity keeps changing, so do the things it wants keeps changing
Mm-hmm.
until you get really clear, like you said, grounded, centered.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you become pinpoint focused on what you're after. And that what you're after doesn't keep changing. It stays within a realm of possibilities, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to like the cheesecake factor of opportunities. Like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed by all these choices, right? Your identity actually focuses you
Mm-hmm.
on what you're really after. So
Mm.
going back to our situation, as long as I know who I am and I know what I want to be in service of you,
Mm-hmm.
then I've got to really start asking some really great quality questions. And the most important thing is I've got to make sure the customer hears I hear them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something missing in our customer service these days, where we don't spend the time. Somebody says something to me, I interpret what I think they said.
Right.
And now I just go, bloom, I'm going to give you my scripted speech about how I'm going to handle this.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't feel heard
Mm-hmm.
in those kind of transactions, those interactions.
Right.
So when you know who you are, right, then all of a sudden it changes the whole dynamic. Like us being very connected to each other, like we are right now, is
Right.
because you're not distracted by any of the other things going on in the world. This
Mm-hmm.
moment is the most important thing in the world, and as long as I can stay present,
Right.
I can really hear you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now I have to make sure you know I've heard you. And the best way to do that is often repeat what the person has said in customer service. Great tool, right? He
Right.
goes, so what I'm hearing you're saying is this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, that's right. And then you're
Mhm.
like, okay, now I can solve the problem.
Right.
As opposed to what we do is we think we heard what they said. I've got a great answer for that. And I go off on that answer without letting the customer know that I've really heard what they're asking for.
Mm. And I'm bringing up that because like I said, you said a whole lot, right? So I started off there because I think that's something that we need to understand when we look at this feedback loop, right? When we look at ourselves, you know, how attentive are we looking for someone else to be to our needs, you know, and vice versa, you know, because you're only going to give what you get back, you know, and vice versa, right? You get what I'm saying? So I think that's something that, as you talk about being authentic in your conversation and being present in that situation, that's how we change the world. That's how we transform lives. One person, one conversation, even one word, authentic, at a time. So I think that's why I went that route, because those people that listen to this show, everyone has not turned that into a full entrepreneur yet. Like they're still working 9 to 5. So how do I stay authentic, genuine, connected, especially in a place that I don't like?
So when we're talking authenticity, you're typically going to talk about these characteristics that make up who I say I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so authentic is about taking all those characteristics and putting them into something that I behaviorally then do consistently,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because people then know me that way. So let's imagine I'm in a customer service thing and I've got a really angry customer yelling, screaming. If I make sure that I've brought respect to the conversation, then it doesn't matter what the other person is doing, because I've already brought the necessary characteristic that's going to change the dynamic.
Right.
Because they're not bringing respect. I've got to bring respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, I watch customer service dynamics where the other person is waiting for that angry customer to bring respect to them. It's over. You have
Right.
lost the game.
Right.
And that level of authenticity, which is consistent, isn't going to bring you the success that you say that you want, you're after. So here's the game. Whenever you're going into that situation and you know yourself as someone who really cares about yourself, you love yourself, you respect yourself, then make sure you're bringing the brownies to the Christmas party. You want to make sure there's brownies at the Christmas party. Guess what you show up with? You do that in customer service. You do that with your mate. You do that in your marriage. You do that with your kids. You do that in your business. It changes everything, Maurice. Everything.
Yeah. And one, I did my research. I listened to some other shows, right? I make sure that I have enough information to talk to you, anybody that I bring up on the show. So, and when I heard you talk about the brownies on another show, because I was going to bring it up. I'll be honest with you, I was going to bring it up. Because, I was like, do I like brownies? But I need some whipped cream and some ice cream and some chocolate sauce on it, whatever. But what I'm getting at is that's the foundation, right? That brownies part, i.e. respect, but all the other parts that goes with that, which is a smile, right? It's a nice firm handshake, eye contact, all these other things that helps to bring in that word. Because I was going to ask you, can you please define respect? Because I don't know if people know that definition anymore.
Yeah, gosh, it's something that we're waiting for all this external world stuff to bring us happiness, to give us something. And that's not what the masters have been talking about for centuries on this planet. It's like, if you want to have something change, you've got to become the change. Now, that is incredibly difficult because in our society, we want to reward people who say really nasty things to each other. They cut each other down. As a matter of fact, there's a focal belief system, a cultural story going on that in order for me to feel better about me, I have to bring you down. What are we doing, man? What are we doing? We got to stop that crap.
Right.
Because all it's doing is creating this destructive feeling and we're participating in it. We don't need to wait for the federal government to change it. We don't need to wait for businesses to change it.
Right.
It's us doing that.
Right.
Okay. If I bring sarcasm to the party, which is my brownies, and it's got some cherries and some whipped creams on it, some chocolate fudge, that's still sarcasm, man.
Right. It is.
And I will tell you, you bring that to the party, you're going to have a very different experience than someone that brings respect to the party. That respect has to start here. So whenever I'm engaged with someone, and believe me, we have spirited conversations in our coaching in my life, and I drive on the I-25 in Colorado. I get the same driving experience. I get cut off, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Well, I have those things. How I handle that is when I know who I am, when I know authentically who I am, I've designed this person as I want it to be. Then those kind of things, when people cut me off, now I go, oh, that person's, needs to get to the restroom. Or I make up all kinds of reasons as opposed to the reasons I used to bring before, which was, oh, that person's disrespecting me. They don't know me. They're not doing that to me. If they're doing it to themselves, that's what they're bringing to the party.
Right.
So all I have to do is know who I am authentically, and that stuff no longer impacts me like it used to. It no longer hooks me, triggers me into acting any other way than I want to behave. That's authenticity.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, like there's a whole lot of one word things that is coming to mind, like discipline, self-control, but I want to use your word, going back to that word respect. Sometimes we don't know how to respect ourselves in certain situations. So how do we know how to receive the right type of respect? How do we even know how to acknowledge it if we don't know how to do with it with ourselves? Like you said, being authentic and honest with ourselves. Because I hear a lot of times people say, "Hey, I just want to tell my truth."
Mm.
But what is that really? I understand it's a buzzword, right? Right now, but what is that really? So, I really thank you for kind of breaking this down for us. Because as I said to you in the green room, we can't give up all the secrets, right?
Darn it.
but so where can you understand a little bit more about this samurai success? And please just explain it a little bit and then let us know where they can find it.
Sure. So here at Samurai Success, we really go for those deeper results. If you're not serious about your results, what you really want to do, reaching out to us is a waste of your time. So please don't do that, because we're serious about helping you reach your goals and your results. And we do it in a very unique way, because we're not the ones telling you. We're not the sage from the stage. We're the guide from the side. We get in there with you, man. We're in your business. And when you hire us, you hire 3 different coaches: a peak performance coach, psychology principles, belief systems, a design coach that helps model all of your business and process development so you can repeat yourself and duplicate yourself. And then the finance tool, which is the coach there. We have 3 different coaches that focus on all 3 of those areas for you in one business. So we're designed to help you win. So the best way to reach us is at samuraisuccess.com. And there's a whole plethora of great videos out there for you, content stuff that we provided for you. So go find that and enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell y'all will enjoy it. You will learn. So even if you've been in business for a while, you should always be learning. Because everyone's point of view is valid, and you have no idea. It might be something that you might have missed. So it was some things when I listen, I'm like, oh wow, thank you, David. I forgot about that.
Perfect.
but so David, I thank you very much for coming on the show. But I have one more question before I let you go. So it's my would you rather question. I ask everybody this question. You use your imagination. No parameters. But would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road?
3 doors or fork in the road. Fork in the road gives me 2. Well, how big is the fork? Is it 4 prongs or 3 prongs or 2 prongs?
Your imagination, no box.
Oh, okay. Gosh. I think I grew up in the game show times of the 80s, so I'd have to go with the 3 doors.
Okay.
Yeah, that would probably be my preference, just off the top of my head.
And you know what? I didn't even consider that. The whole game show, Price is Right, or Pyramid, or that's funny. That's funny. Or Press Your Luck.
Yeah.
Family
Feud. I mean, all those great ones, right, that are out there.
Jeopardy, we could go on for days. I mean, because I was born in the mid 70s. I was born in 76, so I'm very well of the 80s, and looking at sitting there with my grandmom and great aunts and looking at all them TV shows. That was funny. That's funny. But I appreciate you coming on the show, David.
Maurice, thanks so much for having me. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. And I thank y'all very much for listening to That Will Never Work podcast. And of course, David's information will be in the show notes. So if you're walking, running, jogging, biking, whatever it is, hiking, whatever it is, you'll be able to come back and get to the information. Thank you very much. And I'll talk to you just a little bit later.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chism on social media to stay connected, and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?
Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand, and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want, with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.